Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we're going to be talking about the incident that occurred in Zagreb, Croatia recently, and we're going to talk about exactly what happened. And I'm sure all of you heard the news already, and I'm sure all of you, or at least most of you, did hear the news that what had happened or the initial report was incorrect. And yeah, essentially, the story is that a Croatian nun got stabbed by a Muslim migrant that was shouting Allahu Akbar. And obviously, all of the right wing and far right TikTok and Instagram accounts took the story and posted it online without verifying, without doing any sort of research, or at least without waiting until police confirms what had happened. And lo and behold, she lied. So this Croatian nun that is serving the church lied about being stabbed by a Muslim migrant. And mind you, I have been to Zagreb. It's a very nice city, very beautiful city, very nice people. And I don't think that this is a representation of what those people stand for, or I don't think this is what their church would approve of, because the people in Croatia and that region of Europe is more religious than you'd find people here in the West. So it's very surprising that you'd see something like this from Croatia, and also considering the fact that there aren't that many Muslim migrants in Croatia. It's a predominantly white Christian country, like Poland, like Czechia, and of course Croatia is there in there as well. I'd probably add Slovakia in there, and probably Slovenia. Now, let's break this down. We have multiple news reports regarding the incident. We also have the official report from the police on the police's website, the Croatian police's website. So we're going to go through all of that, and we'll take a look at some videos that were posted regarding this news on TikTok and Instagram. So this is coming from the Christian Post. So this is a Christian news website. Croatian nuns claim she was stabbed by migrant was fabricated, police say. Police in Croatia say a nun who claimed she was stabbed by a migrant fabricated the story. The announcement followed several days of public speculation and political debate over the reported attack. So essentially, lots of false information and bigotry was spread online because of her lie. A 4-day investigation by authorities determined that the woman, a 35-year-old member of a Catholic religious order, and we're going to get her name in just a second. So her name is Tatiana Zrno. So Maria Tatiana Zrno. That's her full name. So she's serves in the Catholic religious church, inflicted the injury on herself with a knife she had bought at a store in the Zagreb area, the Zagreb Police Department said. So the police confirmed that she had bought the knife herself, she had stabbed herself with said knife, and then she proceeded to lie about an attack by a Muslim migrant who shouted Allahu Akbar during the attack. How delusional, how insane, how like this person is a psycho. I think she needs to be evaluated by a psychiatrist, and she needs to get the proper help, because this is not normal. This is not normal behavior. You do not stab yourself with a knife and then accuse a migrant of doing that. So she is a sister of the Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, Croatia, had initially told the police that an unknown man approached her and stabbed her, according to Catholic News Service. She said she sought medical help afterwards at the Sisters of Charity Hospital, where staff treated her, and doctors described as a non-lethal wound on the abdominal wall. So she obviously inflicted damage upon herself without really injuring herself in a way that would cause her major consequences. The hospital said Zerno arrived at the surgical ward around 3 p.m. last Friday with an injury caused by a sharp object, as reported earlier by the medical staff. They provided treatment and alerted the authorities. She was discharged on Monday, according to the police report. This happened at the beginning of December. Police officers said that they conducted interviews with multiple people as soon as they learned of the reported injury, which led to the opening of a wide criminal investigation. Officers carried out a series of investigative steps to establish the circumstances surrounding the stab wound and to determine whether a crime had occurred. So the police started a full-on investigation because of this woman's lie, right? Because of this Christian sister lie, and they ended up finding that nothing that she said had actually happened. So as officers reviewed evidence and gathered operational information, investigators identified inconsistencies that raised doubts about the accuracy of her account. The department said the investigation found that she had falsely reported the crime with the intent of misleading police, despite being aware that filing a false report is a criminal offense. So the police determined that she had purchased the knife herself at a store in the Zagreb area and used it to injure herself. There will be a criminal complaint filed by the officers against the nun with the municipal state attorney's office on suspicion of filing a false criminal report under Article 304, paragraph 1 of Croatia's criminal code. So the police will be going after this lady. So the Ministry of Science, Education and Youth contacted the school where the nun teaches religion to arrange a psychological crisis intervention team for colleagues and students, which I think, is needed. A priest, Ivan Horvat, posted on Instagram during the early speculation period that he had seen public calls for vengeance and urged Catholics to avoid such reactions. He shared verses from the Gospel of John, including, "If the world hates you, you realize that it hated me first." So essentially there was, cool heads prevailed, hopefully, and we haven't gotten any reports of anyone really committing quote-unquote vengeance. But this is absolutely insane. This is crazy, and I'm going to leave all of the links to the article. So we have Catholic News, we have the Christian Post. This is the report from the police department themselves, coming out on December 2nd. The circumstances of a woman's injury were found on November 28th in Zagreb. So you can take a look at all of this information. The website will be originally in Croatian. You can translate it into English or your language of preference, and then you can take a look at all of the details of the report. Given the fact that the unverified and inaccurate allegations of an attack by an unknown male person on a nurse have been published in individual media, we hereby emphasize that criminal research has proved to be inaccuracies, as the characteristics of the commission of a criminal offense committed to the detriment of 35-year-olds have not been achieved in the particular case. On this occasion, we completely deny such allegations by individual media. And what they mean is essentially that a lot of accounts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok have been pushing this false narrative. Okay, so the police completely rejects this idea of a Muslim man attacking. We have Turkey today. The report came out December 3rd. So there's lots of reports regarding the CNA, so Catholic News Agency. Police suspect Croatian nun stabbed herself, falsely reported attack. You can take a look. The police report is linked in all of these news articles. And I want you guys to let me know what you think about such an attack, because everyone that was posting videos regarding this suddenly disappeared. They're not there anymore. We don't see them apologizing for spreading lies and misinformation. And Index HR, so this is a Croatian news website, she will be criminally reported. So the police will be opening up a criminal report against this woman, and they should do that. They should set an example, because we do not want to see people making false allegations and essentially causing civil unrest amongst the people. We do not want that. Lying is bad, She should have been taught better. I don't know if the church is doing its job properly, but she should have been taught better. Obviously, she was affected by some propaganda, by misinformation, and most likely lies. And she ended up, lying herself about a Muslim man stabbing her with a knife and screaming Allahu Akbar. Absolutely disgusting behavior, and we condemn that. And this should be a lesson to everyone who was thinking of doing such a stupid act to rethink and to seek critical knowledge, to seek knowledge in general, and try to be more critical in your approach to these questions, and don't take anything at face value. You can see how things can just turn upside down. You have to wait until the police does its investigation. Now let's look at some online donkeys that were spreading this misinformation.
So this is the latest in Christian news. A Catholic nun was stabbed in the streets while her attacker shouted, Allahu Akbar, and the world is barely even talking about it. But don't worry, I will. A 34-year-old, Sister Maria, was stabbed outside of her convent in broad daylight. Whew, they're not even trying to hide. Witnesses are saying the attacker, who is reported to be a migrant, shouted the words Allahu Akbar. And for those who don't know, it means in Arabic, my God is greater, or God is greater. This is a phrase that they say during the Islamic prayer. He shouts this out during the assault before leaving the scene. She was stabbed in the abdomen, but yet somehow stayed conscious enough to walk all the way back to her convent for help. Thankfully, she did survive, and praise God for that, because now she's being treated at the Sisters Charity University Hospital. Despite the severity of the attack, there have been no arrests, and police are still investigating the motive.
I think it's pretty clear what the motive is, in my opinion, because this woman served Christ and served God, the true God, the one true God, and the other person didn't. And the other person's religion, or his text, basically tells them to go out and take these kind of people out. So you people who want to follow this religion or give this religion this kind of freedom, you really need to do your research. This is not a religion of peace. Can anyone ever tell me, like, when a Christian actually went up to somebody and said, God is great, and then just took them out? You can't. There's literally no example of that. Now, if there is, I'd like to know about it. And you can't use the Crusades as an example.
So this clown just said that we need to do a research if we want to follow this kind of religion. But it turns out that the Christian woman had lied. So maybe you should do your research before following that religion. And maybe you should do your research before posting BS online and lying through your teeth. And by the way, this guy did not send an apology regarding this. And I'll show a screenshot of his page. This is what he looks like. White Fox Media. This guy is a propagandist and a liar. And as you can see, he's just trying to get attention. This is one of his ways. He wants to latch on the topic of Muslims, and he wants to garner attention, garner views, and this is just a cheap attempt to get more followers, and hopefully people will realize that people and donkeys like these need to be reported. This is the video that he was reacting to. I don't know what's the name of the guy. If you know the guy who's talking, this donkey, let us know down below in the comment section. But the funny thing that I realized while doing research for this video is that there were other videos that were posted regarding the same topic with the exact same script. So if you focus on the donkey at the bottom of the screen, you can see how he's clearly reading something off of the screen. And at first, maybe it doesn't seem like that, but he is reading a script, okay? The reason I say that is because this other video that I'm going to play in a second is verbatim, word for word, the exact same thing that he is saying. However, this girl here is, it's a different account. She's not showing her face, but it's word for word, the exact same thing that that person had said, that the donkey that was in a hat. I'm not sure why he's wearing a hat in his apartment. That's weird, but it's the exact same thing, word for word. So take a listen.
Yeah, okay, and if you know, the world is calling this an isolated incident, but Christians across Europe are starting to see a pattern. What really happened is that Sister Maria is a teacher, a nun, a servant of Christ, and she was targeted simply for who she is. Pray for her recovery, pray for the protection, and pray for a world that refuses to acknowledge a rising violence against Christians.
Yeah, so this is clearly a script that is being shared around these propaganda accounts on TikTok and Instagram, and lots of these AI pages that are doing these weird thumbnails and catchy thumbnails. try to avoid them, because I don't even know if it's a person that is, posting such content, but you can see it's masculine Christianity, and they never apologized. None of these guys apologized for spreading lies about this nun attack. And be careful. Be careful listening to media if you're non-Muslim. Be careful if you're a Muslim. You have to be careful listening to news, and make sure to do your own research, guys. This is extremely important. Let me know if you have any other details regarding this situation. If there are any updates, let us know down below in the comments. Maybe you live in Croatia. I do have a friend in Croatia. Let me know, guys, if you live in Croatia and you are aware of any other details that we missed in this video. But I do thank you all for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, help us get out there and help us spread truth, and help us spread critical thinking. Stay safe, everyone. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.